Hey everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Tube, or welcome back if this is your 17th season 2 of Nancy Drew episode review. I butchered that so hard, and I got no excuse for there because we're reaching the end. Vacation time is over. We somehow did 17 reviews. I'm surprised that first it's almost the end of May. Next week will be June, and we're wrapped up with another season basically. Next week it's the finale. I just got the news for season 3's time slot for next year. The CW hates me so much. It really does. I'll talk more about that at the end. But yeah, I'm not happy with the new time slot for season 3. I'm not happy. But with that being said, let's get this week on Nancy Drew's, the penultimate episode. We're kind of heating things up. And I'm actually surprised that I was debating, like, okay, was the Everett thing really going to be, like, the penultimate thing they're going to do this season? I thought we were going to have like some sort of like finale thing, or make it like the big thing, the big culmination of the season, but it's not. And actually the ending of it was kind of creepy. That made more sense, like, oh, this is why this is the ending for season 2. I mean, but just going on the basis here, wrapping up basically the Everett stuff, I felt this was very... The Everett, it was smart, but kind of wonky at times. Like, there was definitely a couple directions they could have went with this scenario, but they didn't. And I don't know, like, this is probably my it's weird to say, because I think in presentation it seemed like a great episode, but in actual action it didn't really pull off everything, at least until like some points at the very end. But you know what? Let's go for the butcher recap and talk about this week's episode, so I can talk more specific about that, because I'm just really pandering over the place. I just want to let's get into it. So we begin picking up from last week. Also, for some reason, my TV had this weird effect. I thought it was the episode, but this episode kind of felt very motion blurry on my TV. Could be my TV, could be my settings. I don't know. I gotta get that fixed soon. So Everett's waking up from being knocked out. Nancy and Gil are, obviously holding him hostage. They explain that, like, yeah, your wife's dead. And Everett's like, my wife's not dead. You're just lying. You're a bunch of kids just lying. And Nancy showed him the photo, and Everett has that poker face, but you see in his eyes are like, fuck, my wife's dead. And he actually genuinely sounds like he doesn't know what's going on for once. But Nancy and Gil don't buy it at all. So they're basically the whole point of this operation is to get Everett to confess to Cecilia's murder. So that's kind of how everything's framed up. Next morning comes, everyone's worried as hell, because obviously Cecilia's dead, Nancy's missing, Everett's missing, everyone's on high alert. The whole Drew crew needs to be responding on this to find Nancy, figure out what the hell's going on. Bess calls in George and Nick as they're wrapping up another nighttime slumbers. If that's what the kids say nowadays, I don't really know. Even though I'm older than them. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm older than the character. I'm older than the character, not older than the actors. So they seem to be kind of like jiving a bit. George is kind of acting a little bit more romantic-y than usual. Obviously, we know why she's doing this, but to Nick, he's like, it's kind of weird. Not in a bad way, but still kind of weird. And before they get involved in this thing, Nick gets a letter from one of his tenants that he's kind of opposing this upcoming youth center project that Nick has whipping up, which involves some construction nearby. But the owner's like, I don't like this idea, please don't do this idea. And Nick is like, no, kind of frustrated the fact that he's getting roadblocks on this idea that should be great for the community and great for young minds, that really need the help. And that's when they get paged into the whole, situation. And of course, obviously, Nick's like, oh, it's a all hands on deck situation. I need to be there. Butcher's like, you know what? You've handled enough of Nancy's problems this season. Go focus on your own problems. We'll handle things from here. We'll hold things down. Was it the smartest move? I don't know. Maybe it was. I don't know. I'm joking. That it was nice, because I think I don't mind when episodes focus on one singular storyline, but when it comes to like this sort of thing, if we had just gotten a whole episode of Nancy interrogating Everett, I think I would have lost my crap. Thankfully, we had some breaks in the mold there, so Nick is off to go do his own thing. So for everyone else, they're just trying to wonder like, where is she? Where could she be? Ace is obviously on tech duty, trying to like even locate her. They decide to go, and my freaking light source backed up a bit. Apologize. This is a very wonky light fixture. George is coming over this weekend to help me fix it up. So hopefully by next week's reviews, when we'll be back to more professional snuff. If I have to be eloquent about it, I'm sorry. I'm acting like a jackass. So they're heading off to the Historic Society to try and like get some sort of like leads into where Nancy is. I think that's the case on this matter. Back at the house. I forgot that Nancy and Gil took him to Lucy Stable's house, as Everett was, we already know, like, he was she was already one of his victims, so it would make sense for him to be there at the moment where he's going to supposedly confess to like all of his sins, but he's not budging. This man's like he's an old man. He knows how to fucking con the game, how to like survive, and he's not falling for Nancy or Gil's tricks or anything. I believe at some point Nancy does step up. I don't think we get the interference yet, because I know it's some... Yeah, so a really great scene of this episode that I will admit is when we're back at the morgue. And again, I completely forgot. Did Nancy ever finish her morgue hours? Like, that was 500 hours of community service. I highly doubt she finished 500 hours in, that amount of time. Forget it. That didn't happen. So Ryan's there to ID his mother's body. Obviously, he's like grief stricken. He's like, I really felt for Ryan here, because last week we literally heard him say the lines like, "I cannot lose any more important woman in my life," and then he just lost his mom, and I really feel for him. And now obviously he has his girlfriend out there in the wild, trying to survive out there, and now he's wondering, where's his father? Like, obviously his father has something to do with it. And obviously, where's Nancy as well? And even Detective Tomorrow's asking the same questions, and even Ryan's trying to think, like, where could they be? So we cut to the Historic Society where, I forgot, Mr. Drew did tell Bess and George about the whole photo demonic thing that was around Nancy from last week, and they get there to try and figure it out. The curator does have some ideas, but she needs to do a little bit more research while they're trying to search for Nancy over here. I think eventually Ace does get a ping on Nancy's phone, or gets a ping somewhere. So Mr. Drew goes off to go find it, but it's a ruse. Nancy just did it to throw it away. Also, at some point so Nancy does go outside briefly to her car to check up on a laptop that she managed to get from Everett before she kidnapped him. And it had some pretty incriminating stuff. Not what she needed, but some really eye-opening details. While meanwhile, Everett's trying to like play on Gil's heartstrings with the whole, "Hey, I know your father's in prison, but I can give you and sister a pretty good life. You just let me go. Just cut the cords," that sort of thing. Gil's considering it briefly, and he's really thinking about it. And actually, Gil does actually begin to let him go. But before Everett can make his escape, his son arrives and proceeds to beat the shit out of him. Which rightfully so. I mean, we'll figure out what really happened later, but like obviously that moment was like really justifiable, since besides the whole maybe killing his mom thing, he also did try to get Ryan, on the hook for embezzling money or having these money accounts that he used to like do illegal things. So yeah, Ryan has a lot of reasons to punch his dad right now. But when we come back to later, obviously Ryan gets filled in the whole situation that the laptop did not include any details on if he hired any sort of hitman, or maybe he went on another account. The weird red herring about the situation is that there is a copy of their most recent prenup, which basically admits that if Cecilia really knew her shit about her husband, that their prenup was if Cecilia was ever found to be murdered, then the money that Everett would have gotten from her death would not be given to him. So basically, Everett has lost like a majority of source of his funds, which obviously you think about it, like, yeah, you would not want to kill off your cash cow. So now they're curious, like, there has to be another reason. Like, obviously something's up here. And even Everett's like, you're not going to find evidence about this because there is no evidence. I didn't kill my wife. And obviously as the fans, like, we know, like, oh no, he definitely did kill him, but like, well, there's something suspicious about it. Like, we can't just really be 100% sold on this. But before I continue onward, we had to go back to the Nick storyline where he talks to the cafe owner who lodged a complaint against this youth center, and here's the weird thing. Like, I understand why this was being written up, and I definitely do think it's going to pay off in the long run. I don't know why. It could just be the acting or the delivery. The context of this scene is that the owner really doesn't have. Kind of goes back to when Tom Swift rolled into town, and then also, I believe, with the when we got to the whole whodunit episode, like both episodes, they kind of play on the tug strings, and they're definitely setting up the storyline for Nick in the long run. That Nick is basically one of the only few African Americans in town, and sure, Nick is a nice guy. Everyone knows he's a nice guy. You know, you can depend on him, you can trust him. Everyone knows that, thankfully. But the problem is the stigma is still there. Like, if Nick opens a youth center, is more of his race going to be? There's more African Americans going to be there. And this cafe owner is very old-fashioned, and he doesn't believe that having this center is going to be a good idea because this could attract certain crowds that he doesn't want to associate his cafe with, which obviously in 2021, well, I know the shows take place in 2019, 2020, we need to grow out of that function. We definitely do. I mean, we can't just keep living like that stigma anymore because everyone's different. It doesn't matter what your race color is. You should view every single person differently. You should, when you meet someone, you should meet them as just who they are. You don't have to worry about color, ethnicity, gender, anything. Everyone you can forge a connection with, and you just want, for me, I want to hear their story. I just want to do that. I want to value you. I want to see where I could take a relationship or bond or connection with you just based on your personality and your characteristics. And this owner is definitely not about that. And Nick is slowly starting to realize, like, the real jive of the whole thing. So Nick's kind of like, not pleased with the whole situation that he has to deal with this right now. But meanwhile, back at the Historic Society, they figure out that the reason why there's like these weird marks around Nancy is that Nancy has a paranormal parasite. Yeah, I didn't make that up. There's a paranormal parasite in Nancy, or on Nancy. And obviously they're like, fuck, how do we get rid of it? Like, what do we do? And the cure is basically honest, says, like, look, we don't know what the parasite is, so we don't know what the right method is to remove it. And all the times that someone has been has gotten one, they've all died. So Nancy's gonna die, and obviously they don't want that to happen. So they're like, we need to find a way to at least ID this paranormal parasite. That I can't believe I'm actually saying paranormal parasite. It's so weird to say, for me at least. And the cure is like, well, the only way you can know is like if you somehow get a picture of it, and but however, finding the right frequency and finding the right wavelength to even take the picture, and then obviously letting it be unaware that, like, oh hey, they're looking for me, that sort of thing. Because so far this parasite doesn't know anyone else knows about it so far. So they need to find a way to get on it, and I believe, yeah, I think this was later. I'll come back to this point later. So we head back to the house, and they tie up Everett again, and they're trying to figure out, like, how did Everett get Cecilia murdered? Like, there has to be some sort of way. And then Nancy starts remembering Cecilia kept mentioning this list. The real Cecilia, she kept mentioning this list, and then Nancy remembered back weeks ago, sorry about that, episodes ago, she asked her, just making sure the audio levels are fine. She asked her about, for Ace, it's like, hey, I need this list of whistleblowers from the whole company scandal that Ace's mother got involved with. She needed that list, but Cecilia kind of had to cross some people to get that list so that Nancy could use it to save Ace's life. And the organization is, I believe, the same organization that we got to see hints of in Tom Swift's episode. And Everett's like, They are a powerful, mysterious, secretive group. If you fuck with them, they're going to make an example out of you, which sadly in this case was Cecilia. So basically, Nancy got Cecilia killed. It wasn't Everett. It was Cecilia. It was Nancy. Well, in a way, it was this organization, but Nancy kind of led her on the track to get her to die. So Nancy's obviously grief stricken. That she runs outside it's about to start crying. Ryan tries to comfort her. That the fact like this wasn't your fault. You had to save Ace. You didn't want your friend to die, and that's all you could have really done about it. And Nancy's like really not believing it at first. Like had she found another way, and maybe she has avoided this, it could have been avoided. And of course, obviously, she just kidnapped Everett on no merit. But Ryan reminds her, like, no, he's still a murderer. He's still done some pretty horrible shit in his life. Just because he didn't kill his mom, his wife, doesn't mean he's innocent at all. So you got him tied down. You got the right motivation, but you're not tying him down for the right murder. So keep that in mind. We'll come back to that later. Also, I'm sorry I'm going back and forth. I should have really finished up the Nick stuff here. So Nick goes back to the owner, this time to let him know, like, hands down, Boyle Brass is that before, in other situations, like, they would have to fight their way to get some change being done here in order for anyone else to get a youth center built. Nick basically admits to this guy, like, he plays a baller-ass king move. It's like, I'm rich. I can buy the property. I got the zoning laws to back me up. You got nothing. I'm going to build this youth center, and you have no say in the matter because, everything basically is approved my way. Well, not in the way of, like, corruption, just in the way of, like, everything's legally on my side here. You can't do anything unless you really want to get, like, really discriminated? That's not the terminology. Basically, you really have nothing you can do right now to, like, really save yourself here, so you're gonna accept the fact this center is being built, and I kind of like this. I'm really thinking about the scene was kind of baller for Nick. This definitely make Nick like feel like he can really inspire some change here, and hopefully the center does turn out well. We'll probably not get to see much of it next week, but we'll probably see more of it in season 3. So that ends that storyline, and then later on, George does give him a call, like, "Hey, can you take the ghost goggles you built some weeks back and develop a ghost camera?" And Nick's like, "What?" I mean, Nick, come on. You should be used to this by this point. Get your head in the game over here. So I believe, yeah, so we head back to the house. Nancy comes back in crying to Gil that I'm sorry that I got you involved in this, or I had no merit to, like, even got you involved here. And they're still trying to figure out what to do, whatever now. And Nancy's like, well, we know he's a murderer. We might as well just kill him. Because even then, Detective Tamar gives him a call. He knows he knows what they're up to. He knows something's up here. But the fact remains is that they're kind of screwed by this point. Like, tomorrow's gonna come with the cops, and Everett could press charges on them, and then we'll have an even bigger shit show to deal with. So Nancy's like, fuck it, let's kill the man. And Ryan has to pull her aside for a second, like, you can't do this. Like, this is crossing a lot of lines. And Gil kind of tells Everett, like, hey, if that deal's on the table, I can let you out of here scot-free right now. And truth be told, that's what he does. He lets him go. Everett rocks away, and I'm like, fuck. Gil, you traitor. I trusted you. Your name isn't the best, but I'm thinking, how dare you do this to me, Gil? How dare you? But it's not for naught. We cut to later. Everett's going to the cabin, and he grabs the tape, but thankfully Tamora, Nancy, and Ryan arrive just in the nick of time. And honestly, I thought at any moment, like, he's just going to say, fuck it, I'm going to destroy this tape, screw y'all, like, you're not getting your evidence. But then, obviously, of course, like, meanwhile, in their heads, Nancy and Ryan planned for this, that they were going to try and push Everett to the point, it's like, he might die. Gil was going to let him go on purpose, because once Everett was loose, again, he's going to destroy the tape so that there's no evidence that incriminates him on anything criminal base. But sadly, they fought one step ahead of him, and he has no choice but to play the tape, which showcases back in 1981, he killed his brother in a brutal way in the woods. And Ryan's, of course, pissed off because that's another family member of his that he was lied to about his disappearance and death. And the fact remains that his own dad killed him. But that's enough to get the warrant, to get the cuffs on Everett. And from the looks of it, Everett's done. This might be the end because, like, okay, sure, Nancy's testimony was a big deal, but we have physical video proof that he's done a major crime that's gonna put him away. So, but the victory's kind of short-lived because, you know, Cecilia's still gone. You know, a lot of things had to happen to get to this point. Ryan's about to go in for his statement, and Nancy seems like she's more than willing to kind of give him a chance, like a true father-daughter connection, because we haven't had that this season. Like, they have had interactions, but they never had a proper, like, you know, father-daughter, like, bonding moment per se. And the fact that they have a little lunch date plan, it's like, it's cute. It's definitely a step in the right direction for them. And I can't wait to see where it might go. Sadly, not next week, but you know what, you know. So Nancy's heading back home. Mr. Drew catches up to her, and Nancy admits, like, I got Everett. He's done for good, but I don't feel anything. I don't feel any emotions, not a victory, not a sigh of disappointing myself of what I had to do to get to that moment. She's just so confused, and Mr. Drew's like, it's fine, don't worry, whatever you're feeling, we can fix it. Let's just come with me for a second. Let's just go somewhere. So they head back to the Claw, where it's a very dark room. He takes off Nancy's jacket, and there's a bunch of flashes appear everywhere. Yeah, Nick got the ghost camera up and operational. Nancy's confused as hell. It's like, what's going on? Like, why is this happening? And it proved it. The parasite in the picture is the Wraith from the season premiere. So it all makes sense now. So the Wraith from episode 1 of the season is the parasite that Nancy got attached to. But obviously they're confused. Well, for me, I was confused. Like, wait, didn't they kill the Wraith in that episode? Turns out, no. Fire did not kill that Wraith. It attached itself to Nancy. And it's been living off her for all these weeks. So anytime there was, like, any sort of moment of weakness for Nancy, it took advantage of it. And Nancy was none the wiser. And, however, like any parasite, it eventually kills its host. And they realize, fuck, this thing's going to kill me. How much time do I have? And before I even end, that was the end of the episode. Before that, we got like a little montage of just the Wraith at those moments of weakness and like weird moments for Nancy that I should have really paid attention more, like, you know, during that episode. But it was kind of really weird, and just seeing the Wraith do this creepy thing, could be the CG, just could be in general. This was very weird, and I was not a big fan of it. So, yeah, that was not pleasant for me, to be honest with you. But regardless of the fact, Nancy has a clock again. She has a death clock again, and how is she gonna solve this one this time? Who knows? Because that was the end of the penultimate episode of Nancy Drew for the season. So to boil it down, so now having talked about it, so my main disappointment was that I understood the twist at the end. I understood everything about that. I was kind of really hoping for, not Nancy just heard a dark corner, but to have that moment of, like, really having, because like the way she said, I want to kill Everett, was only a ruse to get Everett to the tape. But we never had a moment where, like, she really genuinely wanted to I wanted to see more of the dark side of Nancy Drew. I definitely wanted to see that. Just hints of it. And, you know, we didn't really get that at all in this episode. Not really. I thought, like, the conversation between them was kind of, like, very set up-y in a way with the mysterious organization and the fact, like, yeah, this is just everything you need to know. And I wasn't 100% of a big fan of this whole sequence. I really wasn't, in my opinion. I feel like we could have gotten the information another way or something, to be honest. Nick's storyline, I was a bit hesitant on it because, like, I understood why they put this in. I do get it. However, I didn't. It's weird to say because like I reviewed The Rookie all the last season, and they included the whole everything about the context of the social issue right now we're dealing with, and I get why Nancy Drew decided to add that out. I have no complaints about it. I mean, it's just like the way they did it. It was like the way they emphasized it with the owner, and it could just be the owner. This wasn't the best actor in the world for me. So, and of course, obviously, I'm not an actor myself, so I can't really judge an actor based on another actor. So, yeah, I just thought it was weird. Like, I'm cool the Knicks going to get the youth center idea. I think that's kind of Riverdale-y a little bit, like, because Archie kind of got a youth center up and running as well. So I thought that's a little bit copy and paste. And again, it could just because they're so close to each other on the same network, on the same channel. I get that, but I don't know, it kind of felt too samey for me a little bit. But I do appreciate the idea, and it definitely does give them something to do next season down the line. Was not a fan that Ace was relegated to background this week. We only got 1 or 2 Ace scenes, and I'm just thinking, Ace better have some bomb-ass moments next week, because like I'm not going to see Ace at least in the fall, and I need some Ace. I need some Ace in my life. Come on. Give it to us. But the whole Parasite thing, I thought it was very cool that they, even though the first beginning of season 2 was technically not the beginning of season 2, it was technically part of season 1 of the scripts order, but I still appreciate the fact everything's connected. I'm still surprised after now 10, 11 episodes, we've done really nothing much with the spirits and Nancy let release in the society. I'm very surprised how very little we got to tackle that on this season. I'm very surprised. I know like it was meant to like safeguard them. It's like, oh, if we need a reason to like create something, we could just use that pool. I can only name a couple instances where like we really touched upon it. Normally it was like already more ancient lore or something else in that field. And but cool idea of like connecting everything. It's all connected, so I really appreciate that. Next week's finale seems to be very interesting per se. I'm very excited to see how things are going to wrap up this season and how things are going to be set up for the next season. But I think for me overall for this episode, I'm going to give it 1 3/4 stars around that. It wasn't a perfect 2 for me, but it was like around that mark. So, I think that's going to do it for me tonight, everyone, because it's kind of hot in my area. I need to blast the AC on my whole house because the curtains kind of block off the ventilation in my room. So I'm thinking I'm going to end it off there. So if you're unaware, this has been Wasn't 2 from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the second season of Nancy Drew. If you want to know what we're doing overall and what's in the 2 besides our Nancy Drew reviews, we are doing Walking Dead. No, we're not doing that. Walker episode reviews each and every Friday mornings after a brand new episode on Thursday nights on the CW or for the next day on the CW app. Walker is currently on break once again on the next 2 weeks. Sorry. So we will, however, normally we would do quick impressions to make up the slot because we already have 2 other shows on the week to week roster for now. We're not going to do another quick impression, so that's it for now. So in terms of Friday, I think George is putting up a Godzilla 4K review. I believe I read the exact name he's doing it, but that's just a cool one if you want to go check that out. It has nothing to do with what's in the 2. It's just something we're uploading on the Friday slot this week if you're just curious to check that out. We also do High School Musical, the series episode reviews for season 2 each and every Saturday mornings after a brand new episode on Fridays on Disney Plus. Been loving that show. I think now that Rookie's come to an end, that's definitely been like the new Rookie where like I'm very excited to review every episode. And also the music is so freaking good. It really is. And then also we also do Rookie reviews each and every Monday mornings after a brand new episode on Sunday nights on ABC or on Hulu the next day. Season 3 wrapped up. We've already done a proper season 3 review last Monday. This week, coming Monday, we're doing a season 4 predictions video where we're going to just talk about everything about season 4. So stay tuned on that. I can't wait for that. That'll wrap up our Rookie coverage for this television season till the fall when we come back for season 4 properly. But if you don't care about Nancy Drew, you're in luck. We'll be back next week for the season finale review. That will be the last one for the season. And then once we're done with that, the Thursday after that, we'll be doing the season 2 review, a proper one, and then the week after that, we'll be doing a season 3 predictions video. So we still have a few more weeks of Nancy Drew content to go. So don't go anywhere. Stay safe. And then remember, we still have season 3 coming out this fall, which as of yesterday, when I'm recording this, the CW has posted their fall 2021 schedule, so I can sadly say for certain we will be reviewing the third season of Nancy Drew, despite it being moved to Fridays at 9 o'clock. I'm not allowed to have any hangout time this fall, am I? No, sirree, I am not. I'm so screwed this fall. But that's Future Joe's problem. We also got Walker Season 2 this fall, too, so stay tuned for that as well. But that's all other stuff, so don't worry about that for now. But otherwise, again, this has been What's Into from ActionX. If you want to see more of us, please subscribe to ActionX on youtube.com/ActionX. Ring that bell for notification where our next Nancy Drew review is live, which is normally each and every Thursday mornings. Like or share of this review if you want to. It helps us get us out there to other members of the hashtag Drew Crew fandom who has yet to discover us. Helps us beat up that YouTube algorithm that hates me all so much. And sharing is always for free on the web. Follow us on social media to stay up to date with any sort of updates for the channel. And until next time, for all you members of the Drew Crew, I'll see you all next week on the season finale review. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this week's episode. I'm always open to conversation down there, so please leave a comment there if you just want to talk to someone about the episode. Please, I'm always open. But until then, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.